About 100 children in the U.S. are kidnapped each year in the stereotypical stranger abductions you hear about in the news. About half of these 100 children come home. 7-month-old Melissa McGuinn was one of the 50 that wasn't lucky enough to come home or be found. This is Melissa's story through the eyes of strangers. Robert McGuinn and his wife Becky had come upon hard times, and jobs were scarce in Texas in the mid-'80s. They eventually had to move in with a friend named Larry to save some money. After a few months, Robert had heard of a job in Trenton, New Jersey in the construction industry. Robert made the hard decision of leaving Becky behind while pregnant in Texas and going to New Jersey seeking a new job opportunity. New Jersey is a ways away from Texas, but Robert was going to do whatever he felt he needed to do to provide for his family. He found employment with the company, and after saving his money, he decided it was time to move Becky to Trenton to be with him. He returned to Texas in February 1987 to help pack their belongings up and move his wife and unborn baby to New Jersey. Larry decided to tag along with them, hoping he could find a job as well. With help from his employer, Robert was able to rent a house in Trenton, but it came with a strange price. They would be sharing the roll house that Robert, aka Rob or Earl, Ashley, and his girlfriend Wanda Reed. This many people living under the same roof would seem chaotic, but Becky and Robert were happy just to be back together once again and awaiting the birth of their first child. Plus, Becky and Wanda seemed to have hit it off pretty quickly, especially because both women were pregnant and expecting. They became close friends quickly, even though Wanda was mentally impaired, which caused her to be emotional, immature. She also suffered from a speech impediment. The girls shared housekeeping chores and fell into a routine of watching each other's babies after their birth. On August 3rd, 1987, little Melissa was born. 5 months after Melissa was born, Wanda gave birth to baby boy, which was named Jimmy. Becky helped Wanda with her baby, telling her when to change his diaper and when to feed him. Unknowingly, she had 2 children prior to Jimmy that was removed from her care. On March 5th, 1988, when Melissa was 7 months old, everyone at the roll house was invited to a neighbor's house for a party. There were couples with children at the party that night, and one child in particular that paid special attention to 7-month-old Melissa and played with her more than they did little Jimmy, in which it was stated that it made Wanda get very upset. She wanted the children to play with little Jimmy, even though he was only 2 months old. Wanda finally got mad and left the house with baby Jimmy. The next morning started off the same as any other morning started off at the home. Wanda would get up and take baby Jimmy downstairs, then come back to get Melissa and took her downstairs, giving Becky time to smoke a cigarette and get dressed, but no one is sure what happened next. Wanda had only left with Melissa for about 8 minutes when Becky heard commotion going on downstairs. She became quite alarmed. A neighbor had came running up the stairs and asked where Melissa was. Wanda had taken the baby outside of their Lamberton Street home, then came back without the child just minutes later. At first, Wanda went to the neighbor's house where the party was the night before, waking everyone up in the house by pounding on the doors. When they opened the door, they could tell Wanda was out of breath, and they asked her what was going on and what was wrong. It was hard to tell what she was trying to say, but they could make out that Melissa was missing. She uttered something about a red car, so they called 911, then headed down to find Becky. Wanda said a black man had knocked her down and taken baby Melissa. Then she said she had given the baby to a man in a car. Finally, she claimed she had thrown the infant into the icy Delaware River a short distance away, but according to the people that lived on the street, there was no way Wanda could have made it to the river and back in 8 minutes. Trenton police began an extensive search, but could not find no sign of the missing child. They arrested Wanda on kidnapping charges, but asserted that questioning her proved fruitless because her story about what happened kept changing. She was 30 years old, but she had the mind capacity of a 5 to 6-year-old child. According to New Jersey State Police detectives and Trenton police reports, at first Wanda told detectives she gave baby Melissa to a man in an automobile. But when pressed for details, her description of the car changed. Next, Wanda claimed to have thrown the baby in the nearby Delaware River, just blocks from their home. Police dragged the river, but nothing to suggest that story was true. Baby Melissa had simply vanished. The charges against Wanda were dropped because a judge determined she was mentally unfit to stand trial, and the case was dismissed. Rumors of letters surfaced. A neighbor who swore she had seen letters from Wanda's ex. Wanda's ex had been in trouble before for attempting to sell babies. She was the same neighbor that Wanda went to report Melissa missing, but nothing else about these letters have been released. Quite a few people questioned the polygraph test Becky, Melissa's mom, had taken and failed in 1989. But after going to the doctor, Becky learned, with her nerves being the way that they were, she would have failed any test given to her if they asked her about her missing daughter. This is per Becky. After Melissa's disappearance, Becky and her husband Robert moved to Arkansas. They had more children, all boys, but Becky said she has never stopped agonizing over what happened to her precious little girl. The hardest part is not knowing, she said. Knowing that there's a beautiful young lady out there somewhere that is mine. And I don't know if she's dead, alive, mistreated, or happy. Melissa's father, Robert, had passed away in 2008. Melissa's brothers have helped their mother, Becky, try to keep Melissa's name alive by social media postings. They would love to meet their sister, everyone has told them about. In a stroke of luck, the investigators actually have a sample of Melissa's DNA. The hospital where she was born kept her newborn blood sample, so if they find Melissa, there will be no problem confirming her real identity. Over the past years, there have been 4 different women that have had their DNA tested to see if they were Melissa, but no matches have been found to this date. Even after 30-something years, Becky has held out hope that Melissa is alive and well and is out there somewhere. Because multiple police and firefighters who originally searched for Melissa are all convinced Melissa was kidnapped, because they tore through every trash can and turned over every river rock and found 0 traces of the baby. With no traces of Melissa after all these years, many have begun to doubt if Wanda was really capable of the crimes she was accused of. If she did not take or harm this child, we are still left wondering, where is baby Melissa? Was she coached to say the things she said that morning? Or was she simply confused by the events that happened? One thing everyone is almost certain, everyone is convinced that she did not die in that river. Whether Wanda was responsible or not, there's likely no way she could have pulled any of this off alone, as she had the brain capacity of a 4-year-old. Someone out there knows the truth. What happened to baby Melissa that morning If anyone has any information on Melissa, please contact the Trenton Police Department or simply call 911. The administrators of the Missing Truth is sending prayers and healing energy to the McGuinn family, and may peace be with you all. For further updates on Melissa's case, subscribe to the Missing Truth YouTube channel to receive notifications. Don't forget to like us and leave us a comment. If you have a family member who's missing and you would like to share their story in hopes someone out there will help or recognize them, we ask you to email The Missing Truth. Our email is on our Facebook page. Like us on our Facebook page and join us on the Missing Truth private Facebook group. Remember, some sort of truth remains in a lie.